All right, Thunderbolts, let's talk about it.
I cried for literally the last 45 minutes.
One of these people is actually a variant that doesn't realize they're a variant.
This event maybe could have birthed Mr. Negative.
Taskmaster was in all of the promo, and old girl didn't even make it on the team.
Greetings, Palaxians. Today on the Bounty Board, we're talking about the heartwarming importance of the Thunderbolts. So kick up that warp drive and let's punch it.
Welcome back to the Guardians of the Palaxy podcast. I am so glad that you are here with us. My name is MT, and I'm here with three of my wonderful, amazing pals, Tommy, Whitney, and our wonderful editor, Alexa. What's going on, gang?
Yeah, welcome back, Alexa.
Hey.
Where Bucky is, I am. So
That's
here
right.
I am.
It's true. Wherever
Seriously.
Bucky appears, so shall Alexa.
Former Congressman James Buchanan Barnes.
Yes.
5-minute Congressman James Buchanan
I
Barnes.
think
Seriously.
President
Literally.
James Buchanan was a short-term president, and Congressman James Buchanan also short-term. Yeah.
Maybe that's real.
Wait, hold on. 1 second. Alexa, stop. Sorry. Alexa went off.
other
That
Alexa.
happens every time we talk about Alexa in my house too. We had to rename. We literally had to rename our Alexa Ziggy because anytime we talked about Alexa, she would freak out. And we talk about Alexa a lot because Alexa rules. So we just had to change that name.
Yeah, welcome to my life.
All right, Thunderbolts, let's talk about it.
Yes, this is the main focus of our episode. We are all excited about the Thunderbolts. And what'd you guys think, first of all? Tommy, what'd you think?
Well, first of all, we should let you know if you're watching this video, spoilers be ahead.
Yes.
I love this movie. I don't think I'm alone in this. I think most of the reviews are generally positive. I had heard from many who had seen it earlier that it was a return to form. It was not what I expected in terms of a return to form in what it offered, but I thought the messaging was really cool, really interesting. I thought it had a lot of heart, which is always important in these superhero movies to me. And I just thought that the performances were real There was, all over the map. Julia Louis-Dreyfus was incredible as Valentina. Florence Pugh is amazing as Yelena. And the list goes on. Really, there wasn't a bad performance. Even the ones that were less screen time, I thought pretty much everybody brought it in a big way. And it gets paid off, as we'll discuss, because we're going to be seeing a lot more of these characters.
It did not disappoint. I absolutely loved it. I feel like that it had a portion that we've kind of missed in the rest of the MCU up to this point. For example, in the first Avengers movie, we didn't really get to see the effect of the alien invasion on the actual citizens on the ground. And like with the battle in the city, we saw the Thunderbolts more saving civilians instead of fighting the villain, which is like a different level of being a hero. So I really liked that twist on that. And then, of course, like the symbolism of mental health. And I think anybody who has mental health issues or even has ever felt lonely can relate and like totally feel in touch with the way that they have portrayed it. And they portrayed mental health in a cool way. So maybe some men will finally decide to go to therapy.
I
Didn't
would
occur to
love
me
it.
while I was watching it. That's not what I took away from it. I took away from it that I need to go to one of those break rooms where you can smash light bulbs. And,
Yeah.
I said, it seems to me like the only answer is just violence. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, Whitney, what'd you think about the movie?
Oh man, I cried for literally the last 45 minutes. And then Brett and I went out to dinner and I sat at dinner and I cried and I texted MT and I told him how much he meant to me for like 20 minutes. And then I went home and I cried and it was the best thing ever. I really, really liked this movie. First of all, I love Florence Pugh. That's what we call her in my house because that's how it's kind of spelled. You can't deny it.
Pretty much.
So I thought Florence Pugh was absolutely fantastic. Her acting in this was just so incredible and next level. Obviously, I'm not saying that MCU movies are trash, and I'm also not saying that they're Cannes Film Festival high art. But I do think that the way that she played this character was incredibly good. Like this is one of the best performances, I think, in the entire MCU. I do think it's been done before, but I think that she's the latest one to do it. And it was really, really cool to see just like the subtleties of the different ways that she looked and felt throughout the movie. I think that she does a really, really good job of conveying her internal emotions during all of those scenes, and we really see her character progression. Man, she fucked me up in the best ways. I thought she was really great.
You know, Whit, to your point, I think, like, you know, a lot of times in these Marvel movies, the moments that are emotional are when the characters are in extreme peril. You know, like I think about when Peter is being dusted and he's like, you know, scared, and you see how Tony's powerless to save him. That obviously made me emotional. And then obviously in Endgame, when Tony dies and you see Peter kind of comforting him right before he passes away, that's very emotional. This movie, to me, you know, there's a scene towards the end of the movie where Yelena and Red Guardian are having a conversation where she's just kind of opening up to him and being really vulnerable. And it's like, yeah, there's the danger of the big bad lurking nearby, but like they're not in any immediate danger right there. It's just one character. It's kind of ridiculous when you zoom out on it. It's two people in a costume that are superheroes talking about loneliness, as Alexa brought up. But it's so real, and it's so, the emotions are true whether you're you know, a superhero vigilante or, you know, people that go on YouTube and talk about the movies. It's like, it's so relatable. And I just thought it was so well done, and it didn't feel forced. It wasn't manipulative. It was genuine and a really, really great writing, I think, and great performances.
Yeah, the writing was great too.
Absolutely.
How about you, MT? Tell us your feelings.
This movie was terrible. I hated it.
No.
Get up.
Leave. Get out of here.
I had a feeling after reading your Substack, that was what you were going to say.
I was just so no. I love this movie so much. This is one of the best MCU movies that we've ever gotten, in my opinion, because like this very much felt like Guardians of the Galaxy light, but on Earth, and like without the talking trees and raccoons, and like it just felt like I love a good redemption story, and it's just like it just, I love when like people that like would never be friends otherwise get together and they form a family, and like it feels like, you know, a very sibling-esque dynamic that they all have, and like reminds me of being with my brothers and sister and just be like, yeah, we're goofing around. We don't know what we're doing, but like, you know, we're going to take over the world together because like, you know, we homies and we can do anything together. But yeah, the overall message of this movie is what I love the most, because I am a big fan of narratives about hope versus despair presented in a, you know, very light versus darkness type of way. Because like, that's why I love Star Wars. That's why I'm a big Kingdom Hearts nerd. Like I'll never stop talking about Kingdom Hearts. And like this story was very much like that. It's just like, it's the difference between being alone and in a dark place but with friends and in a brighter spot. Because like it's this idea of like being together is where the, you know, life's true spark lies, and like, you know, your spark never dies off. You just need some friends to, you know, light it for you a little bit sometimes. And I love the messaging of that. And I feel like this is so important for people that are extremely depressed and like are in a dark pit and they feel like they don't know what to do, or they just feel like they can't really rely on anybody because they're, you know, they're too deep in the pit. But like, it doesn't matter. Like, let your friends in, and like, you know, they'll help you out a little bit, and like maybe you can, you know, resalvage your life. But anyway, I love this movie so much. But yeah, let's talk about the story a little bit.
Yeah.
We start off with Yelena, and she is depressed, and she is acting her ass off because like she does such a good depressed woman. Like Florence
She
Pugh.
does.
She's like, I felt so bad. I was like, man, what's wrong with you, girl? Like, damn, are you this? Like, I, you know, if I lost Scarlett Johansson in my life, I would be upset as well. So, you know,
Yeah, I would also cry.
That would be an upset. So Colin Jost, keep it together, man.
Yeah.
Keep that marriage intact. But anyway, so yeah, we find her at this Ox facility, and she's, you know, going through the motions, just being like, yeah, I'm kicking ass because I'm so awesome. You know, she meets these scientists that are like, hey, don't mess with this. This is some real dangerous stuff. But she's like, yawn, I don't care. I'm doing a job. And, you know, she does what she gets to do, and she jumps off a building, and it's just really cool.
I thought that was such a cool like representation of depression, because I don't know about you guys, definitely speaking for myself, but I think that one of the like the more annoying parts of depression that I don't feel like a lot of people talk about is how fucking boring it is. Like, you get really fucking bored of just being so sad all the time, and you don't want to move, you don't want to do anything, you're kind of just laying in bed surrounded by empty pizza boxes and empty taquito containers, And you're just like, I can't find motivation to do anything. I'm bored. I'm boring. I just want to just not even exist in my own thoughts anymore. And I thought that first scene did a really good job of just showing how incredibly like numb she was and how nothing was bringing her joy. She literally, pulled a Taylor Swift and jumped off a very tall something. And even that, like even literally jumping off a fucking building couldn't get her to feel anything. And like, I've been there. I'm sure we've all been there. Like it just, that was such a cool way to show that.
Like you're saying, Whitney, depression is often portrayed as these low, pits of despair, when oftentimes it's just numbness. It's really like, I mean, for me
Not
personally, like it's like you just can't get excited or really particularly emotional about anything. You just kind of feel nothing really moves the needle. And I thought that you're right. That was a really interesting way to show that form of depression. Like, like anything, depression is on a spectrum. It's like there's obviously the deep lows of it that you're like sad and heartbroken or whatever, and then there's just the times where you're like just in this incredible funk and like, you don't want to do anything. This is obviously heightened to the highest degree, but it's like you still got to go to work.
Yeah,
it's like
you still have to fucking go to work.
Right.
And you just don't want to be there. You're just like, absolutely fuck this. Even if you have the coolest job in the world, like kicking a scientist's ass, apparently. I don't know. That guy didn't seem like he needed that hard of an ass beating, but whatever. He was a scientist. I don't know. Could he fight? Whatever. I just think that like, it was such a good point of like, even if you're literally doing kind of the dream, you're living the dream, doing your dream job, even if you're working like for Val in a top secret capacity where you get to kick ass all day, you're still depressed. So it still just feels like fucking nothing.
Yeah.
And like, oh God, that just like cut my soul deep because we've all been there, I'm pretty sure.
Absolutely, 100%. I know I've been there for sure. And like, it pains me to watch Yelena go through that. After she does her job, she meets up with her old former daddy, Red Guardian.
I love him.
Who is himself in a bit of a depression pit himself, because like he's jobless. He feels like no one appreciates him, and like his
jobless. He has a shitty limo. MT, respect.
That's
the
true.
Shitty limo.
He has a shitty limo. Uber
that
service.
Only plays "Pony" by Genuine in the backseat.
The only song you need, really. And Yelena tells him like, "Hey, I'm thinking about quitting and just doing my own thing." And he's like, "Oh man, I would kill to be where you're at, man, because I'm so freaking miserable." This leads Yelena to asking her old pal Val, who would never betray her, for a job that's more out in the open and that's more public facing, possibly in a way to be more like her sister, who was a public Avenger who like went from the Red Room to being a public face. And so Val's like, "Hey, I heard someone's just gonna steal our stuff in this vault on this mountain. Why don't you go ahead and stop that?" Before long, it's mayhem. A bunch of assassins trying to assassinate each other. John Walker shows up, and then Taskmaster shows up. Johnny Mayo, shout out to Johnny Mayo. And then out of nowhere, out comes Bob from his vampire crypt. He's like, "Oh, what's going on? I came for a test, and now I'm here." They all quickly learn that, they all got set up, but only after Taskmaster is quickly removed from the MCU as quickly as she came.
Very swiftly removed.
Okay, that's I have a question, and I don't want to go too much off on a tangent, but Taskmaster was in all the promo, and old girl didn't even make it on the team. Like they weren't even teamed up before. So like, why was she in the promo? Like that pissed me off and confused me, honestly.
It definitely felt like a creative choice that happened later on in the process, because when they rolled everyone out, because I was at the D23 where they made the announcement and brought the cast out, and they were showing them one by one on a graphic, and then the actors were walking out. She was front and center, like, and I would never speculate, like, or I guess I will speculate. Like, there was like all these rumors that like the actress that played Ghost was really difficult. Remember, there was like a hot internet rumor for a while that
I didn't know
the actress who played Ghost was getting removed from the film, and I'm like, I wonder if that was actually not the truth, but like that they were just creatively writing Taskmaster out of the film, and that got conflated, and all of a sudden it was like. But it does, I mean, they tried kind of haphazardly in the last promo by not having her name up on the screen when they were naming everybody with a title card. It was like, then it became very clear. Also, just the fact that she's only in 1 second of the trailer, it to me was kind of a bummer. Like, I almost feel like they should have used someone. I guess it's not like that Taskmaster was a iconic role in the MCU, but it felt like it was already such a tragic character to kill that way was kind of like, and they kind of allude to it in the movie.
And they say that. No, they don't. They literally verbatim are like, wow, so she just had a really shitty life and then died? Yelena's like, yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much what happened.
A tough life. But like, Yelena's not particularly sad about it, which is like kind of, it was strange. Like, it was like, oh yeah, well, she still was she still was one of the villains in Black Widow. Right. So it's like, you like had empathy for her, but not so much as to like mourn her death at all. I will say, like, the introduction of Ghost into the movie, it's been so long since she's been on screen that I needed a little more of a Ghost primer. Like, I know that obviously I knew Ghost was in the film, so like I could go back, but I'm always like trying to think from the perspective of like, if I bring my family to these movies, like they've probably seen Ant-Man 2, Ant-Man and the Wasp like once, and like they remember that the Ghost character exists, but like, I felt there was a lot of assumptions that we're big Ava Starr fans. Like, there was a lot of like, you guys remember her whole arc, right? Like, she's kind of doing this unwittingly, and like, I don't know. I guess like I was hoping for a little more like, what has she been up to? I know she kind of says like she's been like in a lab or whatever, but
yeah, like I'm very curious as to like whatever happened with those quantum particles that Scott got trapped in the quantum realm for before Infinity War. I mean, before Endgame rather. And so like I always wondered like if that fully healed her, but it seems like she has like full control over her. I mean, well, she can only hold it for a minute.
Yeah, well, she's in the suit. I think that if she wasn't in the suit, she would be fucked.
Oh, so she gets to walk around like that all day? That's cool.
Yeah, she does. Well, because I think that she designed the suit, right? To like keep her molecules.
Do you think she has like business casual like version of the suit? And,
she's got a lot of
casual Friday.
I think that it's more like Spanx, where she like wears it under like a cute sundress, you know?
Okay.
Going to the beach, like, yeah, I would.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely agree. She's very not super memorable character until this movie. Like, I loved her in this movie, and like she's a really cool, like freaking cool ass ghost ass moves. And yeah, like to the point that you were talking about earlier, it is sort of tragic that Taskmaster dies, and well, she got shot, but then she ends up getting doused in these flames, these incinerator flames, because like wasn't that what was going to happen to her like when she was a kid? Like, wasn't like an explosion supposed to kill her, and then like her body still gets cooked in the end, which is like,
oh man,
I didn't realize
I didn't even think about that. Now you're making me sad.
I'm like, damn, Black Widow did all that for nothing.
So one, I don't want to say complaint, but one thing that I wish that we got was when they were going through the memories to get to Bob, that we did get to see, like, we didn't get to see Bucky's or Ghost's, like the journey they took to get there. So I wish we would have saw that. And then, you know, if Taskmaster did end up being part of the movie, we could have learned more about her in that way. So that was one of the things that I took away from the movie. I guess I understand why they didn't do that, but it would have been interesting to learn more about the characters in that way.
For sure.
I definitely agree. And I think that like they sort of like tried to explain that by having Bucky be like, oh yeah, well, you know me, I had a great upbringing. I have an awesome past.
Not a lot in my past. Yeah,
not a lot in my past. I'm pretty chill, you know. Like, so I think that because we know that those were like the worst moments of his life, I think that we kind of already know what Bucky's are. When we see Ghost, we kind of already know what hers is. The molecules in her body are constantly being ripped apart, and she's in constant excruciating pain. So I feel like that's why they like cut them or whatever. I think that they probably filmed something for them and they just ended up cutting it for time.
Seems like something we're gonna get on social media in like 6 months. We'll get to
for sure. Or like if they still had DVDs, it would totally be a DVD extra. But I think that they, when they were like cutting it for time, they just picked those two to cut because we technically have seen their worst ever moments already. We hadn't seen Johnny Mayo's wife kicking his ass to the curb. We hadn't seen Yelena shooting her best friend as a child, you know? So and we hadn't obviously seen Bob's childhood or Val's. So I think that like the ones that they chose to keep in were all, you know, people that we didn't know those things already about. So I think that that's why they did it. It makes sense. But I 110 million% agree. I would have loved to have seen them add those rooms. And I hope that it's on a DVD special feature that they'll never make because they don't make DVDs anymore.
I mean, for Bucky, I mean, he had all of Falcon and the Winter Soldier where we got to see him feel guilty about killing that dude's son.
Yeah, that's
so that
right.
was fun.
Yeah,
fun time.
There's that.
So, and then obviously Val gets word that they're all at the secret meeting and she's like, all right, incinerate away. My assistant Mel, who is actually, it seems like she's going to be the superhero or anti-hero Songbird, because I think that's Melissa. I forget the Songbird's actual name, but her first name is Melissa. And she's wearing a little bird necklace. I was like, oh my God, it's Songbird. Hey, cool.
Oh, that's cool.
And I really love that actress. I don't know her name, but like she was fantastic as Mel. And I want to see more of her. Yeah, they basically try to incinerate these guys, but it doesn't work because they all work together to escape. And Bob gets the wonderful idea to go back to back, to do a little back-to-back thing to shimmy up a long, super high
my
up.
Worst nightmare.
Sometimes you gotta go ass to ass to save your own ass and your friends' asses.
I was so anxious during that entire thing because I would hate to be in that situation.
Yeah.
Especially when they reach the top where they're just like, we don't know what to do now. Like,
and now what? I never know what to do with my hands. I like that they planted the seeds of the team up with like the trust of Ghost immediately, where they're like, all right, let us out. It's like, you know,
she does it. Fingers crossed.
And it is why Thunderbolts is not Suicide Squad, right? Like Suicide Squad are bad guys that are doing good things to get time off their sentences. Thunderbolts are like sometimes bad guys, but also sometimes just the like gray area heroes with a checkered past or whatever. And it's like, none of these people are cold-blooded, straight-up killers, right? Like none of these people are Bullseye. Like they're all people that have done good and done bad. Like they're morally gray characters, but like probably to at least the four that survived the warehouse storage room shootout, none of them would let another person burn alive, right? And we get to see that line drawn where it's like, they don't like each other, but they're not going to leave each other for dead here.
Yeah, I also loved so very much how they just immediately made Yelena and Eva just so annoyed with Johnny Mayonnaise. Like instantly. Instantly they were just like, this fucking guy.
Like I always like to say, like, you know, Anna Gunn, who played Walter White's wife, you know, like she was so loathsome on that show, even though she was always doing the right thing. It's like it is really hard for an actor to play an unlikable character convincingly without being unlikable. Like it's like he does an incredible job of absolutely committing to this guy being a blowhard who's also a tortured soul and a war hero and all of these things. But it's like, you know, he can't even be honest to himself about his situation. It's like he's tragic from the jump. Like he was a tragic hero the second he got the super soldier serum in Falcon and Winter Soldier. It's like, you know, he never had a chance.
I'm so interested about John Walker's character in general, because like in the comics, like, you know, he's pretty consistently this asshole type guy who's like not fit to be Captain America. But like, you know, we all root for John Walker to be better at some point. I mean, obviously his life he's an asshole and his life is kind of bad right now. But like, do you guys ever want to see John Walker fully redeemed and like no longer an asshole, a la like Tony Stark, and just being like, hey, I'm a good guy now?
Honestly, it's not that I wouldn't like still be like wary about him, because like once an asshole, always kind of an asshole. But I think that was kind of like the message of the whole movie was, you know, there's no corner of your mind so dark that you're not redeemable and that you're not still lovable, even if, you know, even if you don't love yourself, even if, you know, you have fucked up, even if on paper you look like the biggest fucking loser ever, like all of those things, even, like if your wife leaves you and takes the kid, all of that, you suck and you might be on the bottom for a little while, but it doesn't mean that you're not lovable. It doesn't mean that you can't try to be a better person in the future.
Yeah, and to me, the best villains are the villains that think that they're right. Like legitimately think that what they're doing is good. And the best anti-heroes are the ones that he wants to be Captain America and the hero so bad, but he's not cut out for it. He doesn't have the mental makeup.
He doesn't have the vibe.
Well, like the gold standard was set by this, this little shrimpy kid who got the super soldier serum, but had the heart of a warrior, just didn't have the body. Right. John Walker had all of the physical attributes and they were just enhanced, but he didn't have the heart and mind of a hero. So it's I am rooting for him to have the full hero redemption because he wants to be good so bad, but it's not in his nature. So he's fighting against this selfish, arrogant, intellectually superior being in his own head to then try to fill the shoes of Captain America. So I guess really in a way, I don't really care if he ever gets there. I like to watch his pursuit of actually deserving that shield.
Yes, I like the pursuit. Exactly.
Yeah. I think it's very important that he still wears a shield, right? Like there's a part of him that
even when it becomes a taco.
Yeah, of course. But there's a part of him that it's important enough, the iconography, like it's important enough for him to still wield a shield that isn't even made of vibranium. It's like it's made of whatever. But it's like he still wants to be Captain America, even though he knows he will never be Captain America. He can only be U.S. agent John Walker, but it's like a guy who wears his high school football jersey 20 years after he stopped playing.
Yeah, he's living in the glory days, baby. And especially, towards the beginning of the movie, I like Eva and Yelena. I was so fucking annoyed with him. Like he was just so goddamn punchable. Like for the first part of the movie, he was just being the biggest version of his asshole self, and I loved that by the end of the movie, I could empathize with Johnny Mayonnaise. I was like, God damn it, Marvel, you gone done and done it again. Holy shit. I did not expect that by the end of this, I would have empathy for Johnny Mayonnaise, but I do.
Well, arguably, 14 months passed in between the new Avengers being announced and the post-credit scene. So if Johnny Mayonnaise hasn't been fired, we can assume that he probably hasn't killed an innocent person, and therefore that's a little bit better than what he was before. Maybe he redeemed himself a little bit.
We are 425 days since our last murder of an innocent.
Incredible work,
they need to have a little ticker sign for all of it.
It's been X amount of days since our last innocent blood was shed.
I want to get into something in the movie that maybe this was obvious, but the name Thunderbolts, obviously we get, I think in the comics it's a nod to Thunderbolt Ross, right? Like it's a team he puts together. Is that
so?
So
something
I think it is a member of, I think at some point, but he's I think in several of the comic iterations, he's the one that he goes around and says, we're putting a team together. In this movie, it's a nod to Yelena's youth soccer team. But so here's what set off my alarm. There's a bit of a back and forth about the sponsorship, right? Is it Shane or is it Dimitri? Is that going to pay off that one of these people is actually a variant that doesn't realize they're a variant in this world? Was that an incursion moment where both of them are telling the truth?
Would be that is so interesting.
That would be really cool.
They brought it up 3 times, in comedy,
they kept bringing it up.
In comedy, there's the rule of 3s, right? There's if you say something, if you find something funny in a scene, go back to it 2 more times, 3 times. So I think
it's the Beetlejuice rule,
that's
baby.
Right. Absolutely, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. That's all. That classic comedy bit. But I just was like, they both are so steadfast in. They have the same memory. The girl poops at midfield. All that. They remember the same exact things, but they're both so sure that the team was sponsored by these 2 different guys. So to me, it's is this just a reality on top of a reality that are almost identical, except for little minute details like that? And we're going to find out in Doomsday that one of these people is misplaced from another universe.
Shane's Tires is the Bernstein Bears of the MCU.
No, I love this so much because I've always had this theory that everyone that was snapped back was from a different universe, thus exacerbating the incursionary threat. So having this is genius because I didn't even consider that for 1 second that Yelena could be from a different universe. after she got snapped back, and it's just like, yo, maybe
Dude,
I like that. That's
is
that's
so
definitely a rogue
cool.
theory. If I ever heard one.
Yes, we're back. I'm back, baby.
We're
Sign
back
me
on
up.
track.
This might be a tangent, it's more towards the end of the movie, but it seems like Sam Wilson, like them talking about him trademarking the Avengers, and like that seems very out of character for Sam Wilson. And we haven't really revisited the scrolls. There was a mention in Daredevil, right? But they
Yes.
mentioned it in passing, and I thought maybe Sam Wilson might be a scroll.
Yeah.
That
So
would be
that's a rogue
wild.
theory.
I
Well,
that
definitely
would
thought it was
be
weird
wild.
because he and Bucky just had their boyfriends now. Like they're definitely
Right.
boyfriend and boyfriend at this point.
Right.
And I'm like, what, you don't support your boyfriend's new Avengers team? Like, what the fuck
Right.
is this? So I
Yeah.
was a little confused by that too.
And-
If Brett was starting the new Avengers, I would support that because he's my boyfriend husband man. I
Right,
think
I was gonna say, more than that, I presided over your vows, for crying out loud. You're married. No, so my question, that plot line is going to be filled in Wonder Man and Ironheart, because like, do we have anything else that's going to show us that 14-month time jump? We've got to start getting information about what they're all talking about, right? Like, so I assume some
Daredevil
of those events.
season 2 just opens up during the void, and then they do the whole thing. I would love that.
It would be really cool if Matt Murdock is the one that files the trademark petition for Sam Wilson.
That would be interesting. I would like that a lot. Just to keep it out of Val's hands. I feel like that's something that they would probably do.
Oh, also, is that just what's happening? Are they actually secretly working with Sam Wilson to create a different Avengers team outside of Val's?
I think that's the implication, is that like they're very much setting up this conflict between government sanctioned Avengers, which are the new Avengers, and the non-government sanctioned Avengers, which are Cap's Avengers. So we might see like
which
a Civil
is
War
so
2.
funny because these guys should not be the government sanctioned ones.
I know.
That would be like letting us be the government sanctioned podcast.
Well,
that wouldn't work.
So I want to catch up. So obviously, what we're talking about is at the end of the movie, Val sets like the perfect trap. She takes a fake phone call where she's acting like she's trying to escape. They chase her through a hole in a fence, and on the other side is a media scrum, like one of those White House press briefings, where she unveils them as the new Avengers. So obviously, most everyone watching this has already seen the film, but it's truly an incredible moment in a Marvel movie because it's a plot twist that doesn't have any sort of violent stakes to it. It's just like it's almost like, it's like a deflation of a tense moment, but it's the announcement that these characters that are the Thunderbolts, the reason the asterisk is in the title is because they're the new Avengers. And it's like, I think we all assumed once the 5-hour chair announcement came out that and most of these cast members were listed on the chairs, that they were going to be a big part of Doomsday. I don't know that I thought they were going to be the team that is the new Avengers. I didn't have that on my bingo card.
I did not think of that at all.
I also, to me, a plot twist was that they didn't immediately call out Val when she was like, I've been putting together this team for the past 6 months, like, because that's kind of something that like Yelena would do. But I guess I'd like to think that maybe they bonded so much that they're like, oh, this is the perfect opportunity.
I think that's exactly it.
Team.
That's exactly how I
they think like this is the way we can keep Val power out of Val's hands. Like Yelena said, we own you now.
Yeah, we own you now, bitch. So like she's basically saying like you're not locked in here. We're not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with us. Like you're locked in a new Avengers contract with us, baby. So I do think that that's why.
Speaking of locked in with us, I want to talk about someone who's been locked in with us from day one. A pal of ours who's so special to us. We want to thank the sponsor of today's show, Mr. Andrew McKee.
Andrew McKee
in the place to be. You, from your pal Tommy B, I sing to you so sweetly. We thank you so much for sponsoring the show today and for being a Patreon subscriber. And, little birdie told me that you're waiting on a video from one of your pals. And I just want to let you know that video is coming.
It is. It's me. And I'm sorry. And I hope that by the time you see this, you already have the video in your sweet little mittens, because I feel really bad that I haven't done it yet. And I'm so sorry. But I love you, Andrew McKee. Thank you so much for supporting the Palaxy.
Yes, we love you and your mittens, Andy. And
You're one of the. If there's new Avengers, there's also new Palaxians, and I want to say welcome to the team, Andrew.
Welcome to the team.
We appreciate you so much. And as Yelena says to Val, we own you now.
We own you now.
Hey there, pals. There was a bathroom break during this section, and usually I would cut around it, but MT and I actually had a really interesting conversation, and he made a really cool theory, and I wanted to include it, but my half of the conversation wasn't on camera, so I'm going to try to reapproximate what I said, and then get MT into this. So hopefully it's interesting or good or works. So basically, I reiterated a point that Alexa made earlier, where one of my major criticisms of this film, I know I'm the criticism guy, I'm sorry. One of my criticisms of this film is that I really enjoyed the third act void scenes, and I wish they explored the void more, because I think that gimmick is really interesting, and it felt like they only just scratched the surface of what the void can do. And obviously, Sentry's still on the table, so like we can come back to it. But with all of New York under the Sentry's charcoal spell, I thought it'd be a good opportunity for other aspects of the MCU, especially the New York heroes, to be explored in future projects and other projects outside of this, like a one-off Daredevil episode where we get to see what Matt is experiencing in the void. And it can explain why there's rumors that Muse and Foggy are returning for season 2. And honestly, Daredevil is kind of the perfect series to explore this sort of character drama, because that's what Daredevil is really great at anyways. And then I made the point that of bringing up Spider-Man, and I said, I feel like it's kind of a waste for Spider-Man, to which MT replied,
I have this weird theory that like maybe this event maybe could have birthed Mr. Negative somehow, like maybe through those experiments that they were doing. Like the void is like, you got into my experiment juice and now I'm Mr. Negative, now I'm angry. And
then I said something along the lines of, oh, that's very similar to how Mr. Negative's story unfolded in Spider-Man 2 on the PS5.
Right. It's just like the same type of like, that's what darkness does to people in Marvel, is to make them moody.
And your host should be back from the bathroom now. Thunderbolts was great. I hope you guys enjoy this episode.
So, we've talked a lot about the Thunderbolt team, but we haven't talked so much about the breakout character of the film, Bob, aka Sentry, aka Void. Bob, our favorite, our favorite little broken boy.
My favorite half-black. My favorite half-black hero. He's half African-American.
I never considered him biracial, but
hey.
Does he have the pass? Who knows? Anyway, what were you going to say, Whitney?
Does he have the pass? Well, this is for Marvel film a pretty serious fare. You have a recovering addict, or not even a recovering addict. You have a guy who was deeply, actively in addiction.
I can't believe that they showed a guy in a chicken suit on meth. This is going to be on Disney Plus eventually, you guys. And now there's just the meth chicken is now canon.
Right. No kidding. But you have this like very deeply, deeply sick individual on a like walkabout in Asia trying to just survive and self-medicate, who kind of stumbles ass backwards into Ox and as a subject in the Sentry program, a program that we learned from Valentina was basically designed to kill all of its test subjects, and then just basically whoever survived the longest would be the the research moving forward to an actual host. Like, I think that that's revealed towards the end of the movie, is that none of the people they were experimenting on in the first round of experiments were meant to survive. But for whatever reason, and I think it's kind of implied that Bob has always had these kind of like this ability, or this these like emotions that can kind of manipulate the reality around him. It's what it seems like anyway. He mentions like as a kid, when he got really sad and disturbed, that things would happen around him. So I think it was just a really interesting character, obviously. I mean, the character is one that people have wanted adapted to live action, fans of the comic books. And I just want to know, as, our true comic lovers on the show, what did you guys think? How'd they do?
I loved him. Bob is my boy. Bob's my boy. Bob's my buddy. First of all, shout out to Bill Pullman for making him. That's fucking great. We appreciate you, Bill Pullman.
Yes.
He's not bad, right? He didn't get canceled.
I don't think so.
Okay, good. Thank God.
I don't
Okay,
know. I haven't heard anything.
Cut the part where I asked that. Anyways, yes. Thank you, Bill Pullman. Thank you, Bill Pullman, for giving us such a wonderful boy in Bob. I really loved the way that they portrayed his character. I think that having him come in as this like kind of fuck up who's always wanted to be special and has always wanted to be something more, but he has never been able to because he was, you know, given kind of a shitty hand in life. He had parents who didn't really like each other or him very much. He was pretty neglected, and I did think it was really interesting that, you know, obviously I'm not a doctor or anything, but just like the way that he was describing his symptoms, it sounded so similar to like bipolar disorder, where he was like, yeah, there's some times where I'm flying high and I have all this energy and I'm, you know, doing all this crazy stuff. And then I get super, super low. And that's like when bad things happen. And I just thought that it was such an interesting way to like portray the void that way, and to like to portray his powers in that way. The fact that he's like been getting those blackouts his whole life, I do think is probably like a sign that he had the powers in him that just needed to be activated or whatever by this program. And, you know, blackouts are a symptom of really bad mental health. When I have had really bad BPD episodes in the past, I've totally blacked out, and you legitimately don't remember anything that happens to you, and you don't even have to be drinking or doing drugs. It's just your own brain trying to like save you from remembering how awful that moment was. So I thought that was such a cool way to portray him. And then I also thought that the way that they portrayed, we talked about this a little bit, but the way that it was all of the different rooms where like bad things were happening. So it wasn't just his rooms, it wasn't just his life, it was all of these characters' lives. And I do wish that we had gotten to see more of them. I do wish that we had gotten to see like kind of like what the other rooms sort of looked like. But when it came time to, you know, talk Bob through that, Yelena tells him like, hey, well, you said that this is the best room in the house. Show me the worst. And I thought that that was just so fucking beautiful to do, to go to your friend and say, hey, this is you on your best day. Great, cool, awesome. I want to see the worst rooms in your house. I want to see the worst days of your life. Show me so that I can be there with you, so that I can go into those rooms with you and you won't be alone and we'll do it fucking together. And I loved that so much. I thought that was the coolest possible way to write that scene.
You know, I 100% agree. Like it felt very Moon Knight in that sense, where like, you know, we're hopping into memories and we're seeing, you know, people comfort each other through that trauma. And yeah, like I think that like the whole direction of that, I'm making it like this whole movie a commentary on mental health and you know, like relying on other people to help you get through your depression or whatever mental health journey that you're on is super important. And like, you know, I think that they knocked it out of the park. Like I was, you know, I didn't cry, but I was very emotional. I was like, oh man, this hits me where I live, because I 100% know what that feels like, and I know the benefit of friendship, which is, you know, partly why we do this podcast.
That's why I texted MT and I was sobbing and I was just like, MT, you're the person who hugs me when I feel bad. Like you are the big hug in my life. Because I was going to text all of you, but Alexa and Tommy hadn't seen it yet. So the same goes for the two of you. You guys are the big hug in my brain. No, I just love you. I text you guys that I love you all the time. Shut up.
It's true. It's true. Wait, Alexa, did you want to say something?
Yeah, Alexa, what do you think?
Oh yeah, so I saw the movie with my best friend, and after the scene of the flashback in the lab where Bob is fighting the dark side of himself, she's like, I could write a whole essay on the symbolism of the scene.
Yeah.
And I agree. I just loved it so much because there was, for example, when the glass broke and it flew and it hit all the thunderbolts, it's like Bob didn't do that on purpose, but it's like it's hurting his friends. Like what he's struggling with is hurting his friends. And then the dark part of him saying, you're alone, no one cares about you're alone. And that's a lie. Like there's literally people that are trying to help that are being held back, but your brain will lie to you and tell you that you're alone and that nobody cares about you. And so I just think there's a lot of like cool symbolism in how you can be consumed in like your depression, like we've talked about before, and how it also affects other people, but that other people are there for you even if you feel like they're not.
In that same way, dude, like the other thing that I thought was just so cool about that scene was, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if anybody, I think that we're all diagnosed with something or other here, but I just remember when I first got diagnosed, at first, like you get your diagnosis, right? And you're like, oh, okay, cool. Now I know what's wrong with me and I'm going to have to like work on it to get better. And so at first you're like working really hard on it, but there gets to a point in the beginning where like after you've gotten your diagnosis and you've been working on yourself and you've been doing it, you get to a point where you just fucking hate yourself because now that you have like the mental clarity and you're realizing what a piece of fucking shit you were when you were at your sickest. And you just kind of want to punch the shit out of yourself because you're like, fuck you. You have fucked up my whole life. Look at the trail of destruction we left behind us. Even though, oh, we're getting better now, we don't even fucking deserve to get better, okay? I'm just going to beat the shit out of myself because that's easier than doing the work, honestly. And so I thought it was so profound that they had this guy who was he was like, he started gaining confidence of like, yeah, no, I do have my friends behind me. Yeah. And now I'm fucking pissed and I'm going to fucking beat the shit out of this part of myself that I hate. And then his friends are like, whoa, 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 no, wait, not like that, not like that. Pull back, buddy. And that's when they have to go in for the big hug because they were hugging him and basically saying like, no, you don't have to hate the worst parts of yourself. You can, we love even the worst parts of you and you can love those things too. You don't have to punch yourself in the face. You can just keep working on getting better and you deserve to get better.
Yeah, and I think that like that ties in kind of perfectly to the addiction side of it too. You know, like similarly to mental health, when you face your addiction issues, like you do have to go back and revisit all the people you hurt because of your addiction, including yourself. And you know, something I learned early on in recovery when I was in rehab was like, you could spend a lot of time beating yourself up as an excuse to not get better, right? Like you could really stall out your recovery by going back and calling out your bad behavior. And I had a very good therapist early on that I wish I was still working with, but it was only part of a temporary rehab stay, who would be like, when I would get on these tangents about all the things that I used to do, he'd be like, well, what are you doing about it now? Like, you know, like what are you doing about it today? Because you seem to have a firm grasp on what you did wrong or what you did, you know, when you were sick. But like, what are you doing to not go back to that place? And like, to me, the kind of self-flagellation that he was just beating the shit out of himself was like, he is exactly right. Like he had made the realization of like, he had confronted his past, and instead of going and being the Sentry, he's like, I'm just going to kill the Void. It's more important for me to kill the Void than it is to be the Sentry. And then only through...
And then he gets consumed by that,
Yeah, exactly.
But before he can get consumed, they snuggle him because they're his family and they love each other and I love them and I was crying so hard.
Yeah.
Now that is an example of a very, very action-packed moment that draws the emotion out of you. This movie had it all. It definitely had the conversation scene between Red Guardian and Yelena, but it also had this scene that was just, you're right. Like, I mean, it was so moving as they one by one grab onto him. And, you know, even Ghost, who was, I assume, off camera in that moment, she was there. She's just short. So it was like...
She was invisible, duh, but she was still there.
And I saw the spirit of Taskmaster as well.
Yeah, and then Taskmaster's Force Ghost was in the background.
Yes.
Oh my god!
Smiling
like derpy Hayden Christensen Anakin that they put in the special editions.
Yeah. Like
I didn't just murder a whole village of children.
I didn't strangle my wife.
Hey.
I'm a huge feminist, according to that one guy online.
That's right.
But yeah, no, like I love that scene so much. But like overall, I think that they handled Sentry in a really fantastic way. Yeah, it's not 100% comic accurate because like in the comics, like Sentry has like a history with the Avengers and like he was around before like all their memories were erased. So like I'm sure some people will have like some gripes about that. But like overall, like adapting the Sentry struggle with like his own darkness to the overall story with everyone just makes, you know, Sentry a lot more like this is the ideal version of Sentry for me. Like I feel like this is the Sentry that I will think of whenever I think of Sentry, because it hits on a very human level. And it's not just about like this man with a mental illness that is struggling with darkness. Like we all have a dark side, and it's not just, you know, not just him, it's not just people with mental illnesses, it's everyone that, you know, goes through it, and that like we need, you know, friends to lean on. But I do want to talk about the post-credit scene again, because, you know, obviously after the new Avengers with the Z all assemble, and like they're all like chilling in their new pad and enjoying 14 months of being heroes, they see like the arrival of the Fantastic Four on a spaceship. And like, you know, I was talking with Brett earlier, and like he wanted me to ask you guys, like, how do you guys feel about this this reveal, and do you guys feel like it affects your excitement or like your feelings about the upcoming Fantastic Four? Because now that we know, like, you know, what's going to happen basically at like the end of the movie, like, are you guys like,
I wanted to ask you about it. I wanted to hear your theories.
Yeah, MT. I thought it was dumb as hell that they kind of spoiled it in the credits by being like, and the Fantastic Four theme. And I could feel like in my peripheral vision, every single person in the theater going, did we miss? Jesus Christ. They're doing, it's in the post credits. It was so fucking funny. Like everyone at the same time was like, fuck you, Marvel credits.
You know, it's interesting. That was the longest post-credit scene in the history of the MCU.
Yeah.
Long,
it was 2 minutes and I think 46 seconds, I believe it clocks in at. And I thought for that amount of time, there was so much more they could have done. You know, that could have been the cameo fest, right? Like that to me, it's like that's where maybe you bring back you give us another casting announcement instead of like someone that wasn't on the back of the chairs, right? Like you have Dr. Stephen Strange, someone we all kind of know is going to be in the movie, but hasn't been announced yet. I personally, it didn't bother me as much. I kind of assumed that, like, you know, that this was how that Fantastic Four was going to end, with them careening towards the MCU main universe. But you know, I totally get why it's like, okay, well, the stakes of the Fantastic Four movie are slightly diminished now that we know. But it didn't bother me. It really, I thought I actually popped for it like a wrestling fan. I was like, oh, sweet. That was sick.
Let's fucking go.
So, you know,
I'll take the kind of the opposite take, which is that I was really glad it wasn't just another Harry Styles and CGI Patton Oswalt showing up. Like, and now we're like, what happened to Pip and Arrows? Are we ever going to see him again? I don't fucking know. Right. I'm glad that they finally gave us a post-credit scene that actually has to do with the next movie we're going to watch, because they haven't done that in a while. So right. I was at least psyched about that. I was like, yeah, okay, I'll yeah. So I wasn't upset by it. I thought, okay, right. And then I went home, and it was great.
Yeah. Well, and I guess just to clean up, what I was saying is not an introduction of new characters. It was an opportunity.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
If they're in Avengers Tower, like the whole Pip and Arrows thing was a symptom of like what was going on with those movies in general. We have Clea and Doctor Strange. It's like can we pop Brett Goldstein at the end of Thor? It's like, can we get a famous person to shoot for 10 minutes on a volume stage and like insert them in this movie? I don't think that does anything, but you know, like I certainly think that if you had like Mark Ruffalo or someone walk into Avengers Tower and be like, I left my towel here, or something like that.
I left my towel here? That's what he said.
I don't know.
My big old green towel.
Yeah.
You guys seen my towel?
I'm naked over here. What's my towel?
Tommy is now in charge of every MCU post-credit scene. If that's the kind of gold he's going to hit us with.
I left my towel here. I didn't mean to. I just left my towel.
This isn't a green screen. This is the Hulk's towel.
That's the Hulk's tie.
But real quick before we wrap up, I just do want to say quickly that I feel like the Fantastic Four are headed to MCU 616 because they were supposed to be there. They left in the 60s, they went to another universe, and then that's what probably causes the incursion. That they're like, hey, it's our fault. We did this. Like to this planet, we have to go back. But that's just my quick thought on that. But like, you guys, any final thoughts about Thunderbolts before we wrap up?
Yeah, I'll say that as we said in the beginning, I think this is a top tier. This is an S tier, as the kids would say, MCU movie. I think, for it captures the heart of the original kind of first 7 to 8 Avengers and MCU projects, Iron Man and Thor 1 and those and the Avengers movies and Captain America. It brings back the kind of emotion and excitement and sense of danger that you felt in those movies. I thought that the performances were all really, really strong, and we haven't really talked at length about Valentina. I thought that Julia Louis-Dreyfus is always fantastic, but I thought just playing a con man, a government con artist, which is, a stretch, but
you don't have to say con artist, just say government.
That's right. Government official.
Yeah, that's redundant, Tommy.
Yeah, her constant shifting around and pivoting to save her own ass was truly inspirational and reminded me of her character Selena on Veep. I thought she was, and as she so poignantly said on the red carpet of Thunderbolts, those characters would not work together. They would try to kill each other.
Oh, absolutely, they would, and they would succeed. So, and like Val would probably succeed because she has the Thunderbolts on her team, and she could literally just be like, "Go kill." She'd be like, "That one's a Skrull. The Veep one is a Skrull. Kill her."
Props to Julia Louis-Dreyfus and props to Chris Bauer, an all-time HBO character actor who played Holt in this movie. We did not see him return from his charcoaling, but I do like to imagine that he's just free falling from the sky because the helicopter crashed. So when he came back, he's just spinning around going, as he careens towards Earth.
Yeah, before we head out, I want to name my top 3 favorite scenes that are ones we didn't already talk about. Just real quick. Number 1.
Yes.
Yelena and her daddy talking and crying. We briefly mentioned it, but that was a top tier scene. Other top tier scene would definitely be when Nat and when Yelena and Johnny Mayonnaise recreated the Nat and Cap shield jump from the first Avengers movie. Very I fucking screamed. I was so excited and so happy about that. And number 3, last finally, but certainly not least, I love that Sentry's costume shows his dick off in a really flattering way. God bless the costume designer. And that's all. Those are my last thoughts.
Val made sure that was a key feature of the suit.
Oh, she had to, yeah.
Well, guys, this has been fantastic. I love talking about this movie with you guys. You guys are the best. And thank you so much for Alexa for stopping by and
thanks for having
your
me.
Thoughts. Bucky and Alexa forever. They will get
forever
married
and
one
ever.
day. It will happen. But yes, we love you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching.
I ship them. I ship
the again, thank you so much, Andrew, for sponsoring the podcast and becoming a patron. If you guys want to, join the Patreon family, the links will be in the description. So we would love to have you. Every subscription counts. But yeah, we love you guys so much, and we'll catch you guys later. Bye.
Bye.